SmackDown was in Chicago this week as the WWE European Tour came to an end. That was actually very clever because people in Chicago, where they're always super duper loud, and now we have just become accustomed to it. Also, hello my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs, and my gosh, we are on the road to WrestleMania, and given that what culture shall be at WrestleMania, I can start teasing that we are going to have a very special episode of Ups and Downs. Now, it is going to be live, but it may not be outside the arena, and we may actually have a venue for it, and that venue may be free of charge, and we're going to be giving a load of stuff away. Now, because I like to be a big tease Terry or a Terry tease, whatever that means, I shall reveal all on Monday. Though actually, the information is already out there. If you want to be a Detective Darren, we've now gone on too long. Let's take the finger of power and give the good bits and up and the bad bits are down for WWE SmackDown. We weren't messing around either because I think WWE knew we have to send CM Punk out there instantly. Otherwise, they're just going to continue to chant his name. So that's exactly what we did, Big Pop. Now he stole the camera because for some reason he wanted to be a cameraman, but he wanted to shoot his hometown crowd, which is when the gravitational pull of the WrestleMania sign kicked into gear, because Punk couldn't help but point at it, and that's because he is main eventing the show. It really is an amazing story which CM Punk talked about, because he was always told that is never going to happen, but he believed in himself and he climbed that ladder. And honestly, no matter what you think about CM Punk, that's exactly what we should all try and do. Don't listen to the negative Nancy's. Now is when the hard work begins, which is a lesson that he has always learned over and over again, when he made it clear, I am going to kick Roman Reigns' and Seth Rollins' ass. When he thanked his dog, he thanked his wife, and of course he thanked these people, and the whole town, honestly, they were pretty down loud. Don't know why there's a decibel meter on my fake watch, but that's just what we're doing. Paul Heyman then interrupted so you could feel the intrigue rising, and he even said, I do not mean to disrespect you, my friend, for being so late. That's just what wrestlers do. Like, if you do not see somebody arriving at the start of the WWE show, you just know they're going to turn up halfway through. Paul agreed that CM Punk had earned his right to be in the WrestleMania main event when he went through all the things that happened in Chicago recently, like when CM Punk saved him, and we had the big old War Games match, and of course, that's when CM Punk got it into their deal that he deserves a favor. This is when things got very interesting. Because Paul was basically out here to say, oh, hello, my dear boy, what is this favor you ask of me? Which means when they made this deal that CM Punk would help the Bloodline and Survivor Series, Paul Heyman didn't actually know what he was agreeing to. Now, I think WWE has actually retroactively gone back and put that in there, but I suppose they hadn't said the other way either. It does make Paul Heyman look absolutely redonkulous. Like, one of the favor was, I get to chop off your head. Oh, I think he was going to be very happy, and he'd be headless. I am stupid though, so I could be completely wrong, and this is when Heyman asked for another favor, which is what to find out what the favor was. And when CM Punk realized, wait a minute, Roman Reigns isn't in the building. You know what, dude, I'm going to hold fire, because I want him to hear this too. Also, wouldn't it be cool if we had a show-long story? So it really was a smart segment because, again, it told you to wait until the end of SmackDown, and it got CM Punk out there right away. And given where this was leading, I am going to give it an up. I knew we would light a fire under this feud eventually. And by Jove, we did. SmackDown continued to be super fun as well, because what was next? The debut of Rey Fenix. Here you got the big superstar entrance as well, which I always enjoy. And listen, I'm just going to say what I always say. I love WWE, I love AEW, but more over than that, I love wrestling. So I always want wrestlers to jump ships. It just makes sports entertainment entertaining. And that's the entire point. So if somebody wants to go to WWE, great. If somebody wants to go to AEW, great. You're always going to get the big reaction. And it just makes you go, well, how is this happening? Hilariously, Nathan Frazier from NXT was his opponent, and he was treated like sliced bread as he was just wheeled out to the ring. But obviously, he is a tremendous pro wrestler, and these two just went at it at 422 miles an hour. And honestly, I'm sure there's somebody out there that didn't like it. That was not me. I thought it was great. And sure, there were a few wibbly-wobbly moments, but they weren't going the speed of sound. And actually, I like this in my professional wrestling because one, they are just human beings and it's going to happen. But also two, if this was on the up and up and it wasn't predetermined, there would be some errors. So actually, that makes it more legitimate. Nathan then sort of whiffed on his own dive, and that was very concerning because it is 2025, when Phoenix was like, I forgot what year it was, and he did a big old dive too. And do you know somebody else who did a dive recently to tie into his catchphrase? It was me.
Maybe, oh my gosh, we're not going to have any introductions.
See, the latest Progress show is now live on Triller or Demand Progress. We then got a springboard suplex and this bonkers neck breaker. As Rey Fenix started to do that running kick thing that he does, honestly, he looked like he was having the time of his life, and that he had a point to prove. He also doesn't care about physics, but this fire driver he did, I swear, it looked like he dropped Nathan Frazier right on his head. Now, it seemed like he was okay, so maybe this is the art and magic of pro wrestling. I'm not going to lie to you, I turned into his mother and I was terrified. Frazier did get right back up and boot Rey in the face, but that was never going to happen. He was never going to win. When I think Fenix hit the goodbye amigo kick, I think that's what it was called, which is a very interesting name. But he got the 1, 2, 3, and we gave him the Penta treatment here, which was for him to do a big old promo saying how happy he was and how passionate he does feel to be in WWE. And of course, this is going to work, and in a few months or whenever, we will reunite the Lucha Brothers, which will carry on their momentum. So I didn't have any notes here. It was exactly what you should have done. Give it up. But there's all Legado Del Fantasma who were just watching this on TV like creeps. When it was Berto that was like, you know what, I'm better than Rey Fenix, which is a really odd thing to say. When Santos Escobar was like, you know what, I think you should prove that. And he went off to ask Nick Aldis for the match. I tell you, they are a really strange group. This is when we cut back to eye patch Drew McIntyre, who is actually looking like Big Boss. And yeah, he is now super duper angry at Damien Priest because he did throw him into a car, which is how he got glass in his seeing device. And also, he's done the maths, and nobody cares about Damien Priest. That's like true. I'm pretty sure at least one person cares. McIntyre also doesn't like the fact that Damien was able to achieve this because he was just hiding in the shadows. And that's why, from this point out, bad things are going to happen. Now listen, later on Damien Priest did a rebuttal video to this and he was so good in that as well. He even was like, man, Drew, you're addicted to these stupid jokes. You're a junkie, man, because you just want the cheap pop. So if you want to meet me in the ring next week, fine, that's what we can do. And of course they're going to meet at WrestleMania. So many people are poo-pooing this feud. I think it's brilliant because they have a story, they both feel super duper pissed off, and it's simple. So yeah, I am absolutely giving this one an up 2. It's just bubbling under the surface, but it just works. Also, I think everybody's forgotten how good they are. It's Damien Priest and Drew McIntyre, man. If you want to make the argument they hit home runs in 2024, well, this bald eye patch idiot is not going to argue with you. Byron Saxton was then with Braun Strowman when he got interrupted by Solo Sikoa and Tonga because they were basically like, we don't like you, when LA Knight walked in and said, well, you know what? I don't like you, and right now we are going to have a match. He wasn't lying, they actually did. Because it was Tama Tonga versus LA Knight, and of course Solo Sikoa is out there too. And I just love Tama and Solo together. Go and watch Sikoa's reactions anytime Tama Tonga was doing well. The dude is hilarious, and of course, because he is a bad guy, he kept casting distraction. LA Knight also threw Tama into Alan the announce table at one point because he loves doing that. And listen, I guess there was a sense of jeopardy here, because if Solo Sikoa had been successful in his dastardly ways, and LA Knight had lost, although actually I think the US title may have been on the line, but the point is this, if we were going to set up a multi-man match, which WWE is obsessed with this WrestleMania season, that would be the way to do it, but instead, we did not. So now I am excited. Knight was able to get his big signature elbow drop when he went for the BFT, but Tama wasn't into that. And that's when Solo realized, oh my gosh, the referee isn't looking. And he tried to spike LA Knight. That didn't work, which is when Tama Tonga went for the most devastating move. In all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up that also failed, and LA was like, man, I'm bored of this. BFT, 1, 2, 3. So this really was just to underline that we do have a very obvious US champion, and I think we also have a very obvious challenger too, although we still do have a few weeks for WrestleMania, but I am going to put those positive vibes into the world, and if nothing else, LA was just so over here, it made me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. Solo Sikoa is also the secret funniest wrestler on the roster. Paul Heyman then made it very clear, because he was talking right into the camera, that he does not know what this favour is, and therefore, whatever CM Punk is going to ask for, he will just give it to him. Again, I was like, Paul, what if it's that you're never allowed to eat pizza again? Nothing is worth that. You will miss that cheese on toast. There was a really nice moment as well because a car pulled up behind him and everybody thought it was Roman Reigns, but of course it was Seth Rollins because he also wants to know what this favour is because he's in that main event match too. And he guesses it's probably going to affect him. We then got another one of these teaser videos we've had the last few weeks, and honestly, surely it's Aleister Black. And if it's not Aleister Black WWE, you need to pivot very fast, otherwise you're going to disappoint people. But I do think on the Raw after Mania, we're going to get Rusev, and on the SmackDown after Mania, we're going to get Aleister Black. And honestly, it goes back to what I said earlier, that is a pretty good 1-2 punch. Not that anybody is going to be talking about that today, because right after that, boy howdy do we have a segment. It was Charlotte Flair going against Tiffany Stratton in a promo battle. Now yes, if you do some after SmackDown reading, it does sound like both of them went off script, and usually I always take such speculation with a pinch of salt, but I also saw this with my eyes because my eye patch has now been released, and yep, I totally believe it because this was nuts. Now Wade Barrett was adjudicating this, so he didn't go too crazy, so he felt at his job. And I think the first issue is that this Chicago crowd really got on Charlotte Flair's ass. I mean, you'd have to imagine she was expecting this, but for whatever reason, she did seem a little bit rattled. Flair still said that Tiffany Stratton was desperate when Tiffany came back and said, well, Charlotte, actually, your biggest battle is always with the crowd, because no matter what you do, listen, they don't seem to like you. A huge reason for this could be because she's always going to play second fiddle to her dad, and at WrestleMania, she will play second to Tiffany Stratton. And listen, Flair tried to fire back some shots here, but for some reason, she just wasn't able to do it because, yes, she was getting booed. I actually got a little bit sad because Charlotte seemed really upset by this and even said, you know what, Tiff, you could have the last word. But I think given what happened a couple of weeks ago, Stratton was like, no, you have laid down the battle lines here. So she talked about the fact that when Charlotte Flair was 25, she was a failed volleyball star who was drinking in her daddy's basement, whereas Tiffany right now is 25, and damn it, she's heading into WrestleMania as the champion. Sheesh. Flair then cut Tiffany off and started to go, what's wrong with your voice? You're so squeaky, as if she turned into Kermit the Frog. And Stratton was like, you know what? Why don't I end it right now? Because not only are you going to lose in your professional life, it will be a lot like your personal one, where you are 0-3. Listen, we don't know for sure, but I do think she was talking about the fact that Charlotte Flair has been divorced a few times. And my goodness, we are not in Toto anymore, Kansas. It just means she's gonna be all alone. As she tried to leave the ring, Charlotte grabbed the microphone and just shouted, oh yeah? Then why is Kaiser in my DMs? Now, if you're just a fan who likes to enjoy the television product, you'll be like, what the flop is she talking about? That's because in real life, Ludwig Kaiser and Tiffany Stratton are a couple. I do not know how we got here. You can tell the commentators had no idea how to respond to this, and we pushed play on Tiffany Stratton's music super quick. And I guess the only way to describe this is that it was a train wreck. Now, I do want to say it was way better than that promo we did a few weeks ago. We drew a line down the screen, and someone has to be on the left side, and somebody has to be on the right side. And there's probably an argument to say that sometimes we should send two wrestlers to the ring and just say, listen, man, come up with a plan beforehand, but we're not going to script anything, and let's see what we get. I'd actually say that's probably quite entertaining, but you also need to base it on the results. And yeah, to be as nice as possible, this was not very good. That really does tie into the counterpoint, which is the whole build between Charlotte and Tiffany. Well, it's just been a swing and a miss. Like, I like the brawl we did recently, but otherwise, I don't know whether we've overthought it or whether we pulled the trigger too soon. But I don't feel very excited about that match anymore. And after this, well, dare I say it, I'm a little bit scared. I mean, what the flub are they gonna do? I guess the right word is awkward. That's how it made me feel. And unless I'm watching an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, I don't really want to feel that way. To the point, kind of feel like maybe we should just get this match done at WrestleMania and draw a line under it and move on. I don't know what the plan was meant to be, but we do have to give it a down. Although, if you could find the original version, because apparently it is being edited, you should watch this. You will not believe it. When sadly, I do have to throw another down in there, because I knew that we were gonna do this. Because we cut to Nick Aldis and he was like, oh, hello, my friends. Welcome to the road to WrestleMania. And did you know we have some women's tag team titles? And next week on SmackDown, we're gonna do a gauntlet and the winner will be the #1 contender. So my first reaction was just, man, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez deserve way more than this, because they've done such a good job. And also, look at the teams. Now, starters Lyra, Valkyria, and Bayley are in there, so now I've got the fear that we're going to totally ignore Lyra's Women's IC Championship, and at WrestleMania, that's not a good plan. Meech and B-Fab are also in it, and I don't think they've even tagged together, even though they are friends. Natalya and Maxine Dupree have also somehow entered this, even though the last time we saw Maxine, she said to Adam Pearce, oh, I'd love to be a tag team, so we haven't even cemented them yet. Piper Niven and Alba Fyre in it, and actually I really like that one, and maybe that's what we should do. There's also Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark, who we haven't seen for like a month, and Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. And before they popped up on one of those European Raws or SmackDowns or whatever it was, I actually thought they'd gone missing. Now listen, I am super happy that they're all getting their opportunity because they're all talented in their own way, but this is just so last minute. Given how good that Liv, Raquel, Bianca, Naomi stuff was, well, I just feel like, I'll use that word again, they deserve more, shouldn't be playing background noise to anything, whatever that means. This is down. And actually, I kind of think that all versions of the tag team division in WWE are a little bit wibbly wobbly, because we then cut to DIY versus the Motor City Machine Guns to decide who the number one contender is going to be. Now, of course, this match was brilliant. Every single match we do in the tag division is brilliant, but nobody is cutting promos really, and we don't get much story, and it is going to end in a multi-man, probably a ladder match at WrestleMania, and that will be brilliant. But it's just missing something. I mean, maybe it's me, and maybe I need to be kicked into the sun. I understand that, but I'm going to give it a down. Otherwise, though, of course, the match was brilliant. DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns haven't been friends for ages, and we had Johnny Gargano and Chris Sabin facing off, and Tommaso Ciampa and Alex Shelley, and I just sat there and I felt it in my bones. That'll do, pig. That'll do. It's also fantastic that new WWE does matches like this, because old WWE never would have done. When we did come back from a commercial break, Chris Sabin hit a crossbody. Why not? The Guns then had Tommaso Ciampa all alone, but through some shenanigans, all of a sudden Tina the Turnbuckle was exposed, and we should all be terrified about that, because the metal underneath is dangerous. DIY sort of used that to stop the Skull and Bones as well, which is when Ciampa tried to make the pin, but he had his feet all up on the ropes. The referee saw this and was like, "Why are you doing this to me? I've got a job to do." It meant Sabin decided, well, actually, if you are going to be a horrible person, I'm going to be a horrible person too. And he made sure that DIY went crashing into that exposed steel. Surprise, surprise, I didn't see that happening. When he got the 1, 2, 3, if I were going to hazard a guess, I think DIY can now be like, well, we didn't lose very fairly, so maybe we should do a multi-man match. It also did mean this ended with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. And, you know, that does always feel like a crutch when it comes to pro wrestling, but we were just talking about in-ring action. Of course you have to give it an up. I mean, all of them are pretty flipping good. The Miz and Carmella Hayes then ran into Pretty Deadly backstage, and that rhymes, so it must be true, although it was because I saw it with my eyes. And once again, if I were going to hazard a guess, I think they're probably going to be in this multi-man tag team match. Pretty Deadly did have a good line, because they were like, oh, well, surprise, surprise, The Miz has another tag team partner, and this one is hotter and younger, so you are the Leonardo DiCaprio of the tag division. I was like, well, damn. They also insulted him for being in the Marine, but The Miz and Carmella Hayes didn't really care, and they walked off and will probably do this match next week. Do have to say, not a massive fan of Mello and The Miz being a team. Like, The Miz is all time and Carmella Hayes has all the potential in the world, and I love Pretty Deadly. They're underrated. I don't know, man. Goes back to what we were saying before. Something just ain't clicking. What WWE did do great, though, was keep the Naomi versus Jade Cargill feud simple. And this one is flubbing great. Now, it was meant to be Naomi versus B-Fab, given that Naomi had jumped B-Fab last week. But before this match started, Jade Cargill beat the piss out of her. And like always, the ref was like, Naomi, I don't care, and you're still gonna wrestle. It meant the B-Fab was able to get a few near falls, but obviously that was never gonna happen this close to WrestleMania. Although I swear she is getting better when Naomi hit like a lung blower tum-tum thing, and she got the 1, 2, 3. It's kind of strange, because I like the fact she's adding new moves, but her entrance is still the same. We have got to change that music, it is way too happy. Jade then returned after Naomi called her out, and they got into it again before the useless wrestling security guards broke them up. Honestly, it just worked, especially because Nick Aldis then came out. I was like, oh man, you're ruining my life. You two are going to fight at WrestleMania. Once again, it's all about the story, although I want Naomi to win, because quite clearly I'm a bad person, but either way, I do not care. We didn't overthink the pudding, man. I'm giving it an up. Both these people have smashed it. This is where we did get the Damien Priest promo that we have chatted about. And good grief, did I go from happiness to sadness, because as had been rumored throughout the day, Kevin Owens was going to come out and tell us some very, very sad news. You knew it was going to be bad as well, because Nick Aldis introduced this and was basically saying, listen, what you're about to see is not a work. And Kevin did walk to the ring and essentially said, over the last 4 months, I've been having some neck problems. We figured it out, and I need to go away for a while because I need surgery. And listen, man, neck surgery in pro wrestling is one of the scariest things you can hear. He was really upset as well, especially because he was so close to WrestleMania, where he was going to take on Randy Orton. And man, I just felt my own tum-tum sink. You could see it in his face. Wrestling really sometimes can be horrible. I mean, he even said sorry, and Randy Orton came out, as they did share a moment while also keeping the character alive. Listen, some people are like, oh man, it's definitely not real. I think it is real, so what I want to do is I want to take all the positive thoughts and throw it in Kevin Owens' direction and keep my fingers crossed that he is able to come back. But actually, even before we get to that point, health and happiness first and foremost. So I hope he gets through the surgery, and I hope he's over it super duper quick, and he can just get back to living a normal life. Kevin Owens is also one of those dudes where instantly I was like, man, WWE is actually going to be worse off without him. We've talked about this before. As far as I'm concerned, he's the modern day GOAT. We also did have a nice story beat afterwards, in the sense Nick Aldis went, sorry Randy, you don't have a WrestleMania match anymore. So Orton gave him the RKO. So I suppose you could do Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton. I mean, why the flub not? All bets are off. One last shout out for Kevin Owens though, because genuinely he is one of my favorite wrestlers and has been for the last 10 years or so. I'm going to repeat myself, but I just hope he's okay. This is why we really shouldn't get bogged down with the nonsense stuff that everybody argues about on the internet. This is what really matters. So again, let's just hope he's back ASAP. WWE did structure this show well though, because I think they realized the crowd would need a pick-me-up. Last man standing, #1 contender match for the US Championship. Fatu versus Braun Strowman. Big men slapping man meat. They really did smash each other as well when Jacob went 1 moonsault, 2 moonsault, 3 moonsaalt, 4. When Braun was able to get to his feet, when they were throwing each other into the announce table, they were breaking barricade, they were using chairs. And at one point, they went into the crowd and Braun Strowman gave Fatu his suplex through a bunch of tables. That was absolutely ridiculous. Commentators were great as well because they were like, oh, hi. We don't think Braun Strowman has ever lost a last man standing match. And while that essentially told you that Jacob was going to win, my goodness, did we give Jacob his props. By the time they got back in the ring, both guys were all wibbly-jibbly, but that actually did work, because they had set a table up in the corner, because wrestlers are set with wood, in 2025, and Fatu was like, wait a minute, I've done the mathematics in my head, I can hip attack this guy into that thing, which is what he did. And look, Fatu got to his feet, but he was about to fall down. Strowman wasn't able to do it. The referee got to 10. So as of me talking to you, and it could change, it is a 1-on-1 match for the US title. Fatu versus LA Knight. And man, I am so into that. Especially because I couldn't call it. You could go either way. Now I'm desperately concerned this will change. But given that it is Saturday, the 4th of April, whatever the flub, I am going to give it an up. This got me pumped. Heyman was then overjoyed because Roman Reigns finally turned up to work. Honestly, this guy, somebody must tell him the running order because he only pulls into the arena just before his own segment. By the time he did get to the squared circle too, Roman Reigns just laughed off all this stuff with CM Punk. He was like, that fool wouldn't even be back in WWE if it wasn't for me. And look, Roman Reigns does have a lot of power backstage. Maybe there's some truth to it. It's also very accurate that the only time CM Punk got to the WrestleMania main event is when he was fighting our tribal chief. That's because Roman Reigns is the man. He also kind of read the room because he was like, listen, Chicago fans, you're great people, but you're not very smart because you get behind this guy. Because once again, Punk would not be where he was if it wasn't for the head of the table. He then told CM to come to the ring. And of course, who came out instead? Seth Rollins. Now, he didn't want to miss this because he knows whatever the favour is going to be, it's going to knock Roman Reigns' socks off. And I like to think he meant literally, and his foot warmers would just go whoop and fly off his feet. I do have to say, Seth was great during all of this because he has now realised I can't get left behind. I need to adapt to the current situation. So anytime there was a big reveal, he was just laughing his ass off. He also told Roman he is to blame for this because anytime he doesn't step outside his reality, bad things happen. Take WrestleMania 31, the height of the century, and also go back to WrestleMania 40. What happened, Reigns? You lost. He also has to stop underestimating CM Punk, which is when Roman just cracked up again. He was like, why would I listen to you, you idiot? You're the most untrustworthy person there is. He also made a promise to CM Punk, so once again, can we please get this man out here? And CM Punk was here for round 2. Big pop. He had heard all of this as well and wanted to focus on one word, which was loyalty, as he looked at Seth Rollins. But it all tied into everything with Paul Heyman and their relationship that began back in OVW. Now, Punk told what must be a true story about the day Paul Heyman was fired and how CM Punk made it all about him because he's like, man, WWE will get rid of me without you around. When Heyman said, nah, man, you're missing the point here. When you main event WrestleMania, you have to force them to do it for us. CM Punk has never forgotten that though and sees Paul Heyman as his best friend. And also, why don't we get you, Roman Reigns, out of your comfort zone? Because the favour that will kick into gear at WrestleMania 41 is that Paul Heyman, you will not be in the OTC's corner, you're gonna be in mine. Not mine, CM Punk's. Now Reigns was great here because he just laughed like, Matt, that's what you want to go with? You have wasted your time. Because tell him, Paul, tell him that you're never going to do this. Now Heyman was having a breakdown and he was even crying, and every second that passed, Roman Reigns got more mad, to the point he got right in Paul Heyman's face, was essentially threatening him. Roman even told Heyman to turn Punk down nicely, which is when Paul said, I'm sorry, my tribal chief, I can't do that. This is when Roman turned his back on CM Punk, who surprise, snuck up on him and gave him the GTS. Roman Reigns sold that like he was dead, and again, Seth Rollins was making me laugh out loud. He was enjoying all of this. Serves Roman Reigns right. It really was great though, because of course Paul Heyman has never said no to Roman Reigns about anything, and it meant SmackDown ended with Punk looking at Seth and Seth looking at Punk, because that's what you do when you are in a wrestling feud, which is when Punk did the GTS sign. So essentially, when the show did go off air, he was standing tall. So sure, the Favour reveal is a bit obvious, but think about it in regards to that match itself. Any of these people could win, and the whole time we're going to be asking, well, who is Paul Heyman going to side with? Like, even if he walks out with CM Punk, he doesn't have to do the deed, and he could go back to Roman Reigns, and if you wanted to go proper Attitude Era, maybe you even come up with a narrative where he joins Seth Rollins. I doubt we'll do that, but you could, and now I have no idea who is going to win. This is a big bravo, it's a massive home run, and this feud really has kicked into gear. And the last two segments we did were perfectly fine, but this one was way better. To the point, I am giving it an up. I am super duper excited. Which brought us to the end of a very good SmackDown. I thought the only thing dragging it down was that Kevin Owens stuff, and really, that's what I want to focus on today. That's real, that's important. The rest is all just wrestling nonsense, so Kevin Owens will never see this, but I am sending you the best. I mean, aside from being a great professional wrestler, you just seem like a stand-up guy. You never want this to happen to anyone. Now, of course, my friends, I shall give SmackDown an up overall, but please do leave me a comment, like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and just interact with this video as much as possible. You can also click the video on the screen for my ups and downs for Raw, where we talk about heel John Cena, my new favorite person. Otherwise, take care, everybody. I'll see you soon.